and I'm of the view that there must be something in the ICPC Act, in the EFCC Act, in the Police Act, which prescribes higher punishment for officers who are charged with arrest and prosecution of corrupt people. So that if a public officer ordinarily is on conviction, should go to 14 years jail, the person who is supposed to arrest him, if he's found liable of corruption, should go for 28. If we cannot impose death penalty on ordinary public officials who are found corrupt, we must be able to do that for people in the security agencies. You know, I tell people, the volume and amount of crime committed in Cape Town in South Africa in a day alone is not committed in all the 30 states of Nigeria and FCT in 3 months. That is one of the most exceedingly violent cities in the world. And as I'm talking to you, it is an acknowledged fact that New York City in the US is the most dangerous, violent city in the world. It is said that every 6 minutes somebody is killed, every 30 minutes a woman is raped. So the kind of things that go on in those places, it was bad. There is nothing near it in this country. Then why is it that people believe that Nigeria is not safe? And that South Africa, Cape Town is safe, New York is safe? It's the law enforcement agents. The problem of Nigeria is not because we don't have sufficient number of laws. It's the problem of enforcement. And you start from the traffic rules. Who observes traffic rules? Especially Nigerian big men. They don't. I was in Vancouver, Canada, with some Nigerian big lawyers. We were in the same vehicle. And the road was being constructed, being expanded, and there was this long queue of people going slowly, steadily. Nobody was jumping any queue. And they started, and I kept quiet, so I didn't talk to them. They started this discussion. Say, look at people. They are orderly, they are something. I kept quiet. After some time, they said, Madam, what do you see to this? You are the destroyers of Nigeria. You see. I said, any one of you here, if you are going to be in Nigeria, I'm sure you will tell your neighbor, are you only is that what the way you people do in Nigeria? What do you turn here? That's the problem. Where do you see orderliness then? Even in spite of the madness of the express, it's indiscipline and corruption that are discussing the world there. If people maintain their lanes, you go normally. You move faster. There's some people, because they have mental problems, they go and cross the other person's lane, and then they cause all this log jam. So, that is the truth. People who work in the security agency should have higher punishment for corruption than other people. And lastly, we all need personal orientation. I've mentioned this at the beginning, but it's too important for me before I take my seat. Let's all resolve from here that we will always be acting in accordance with rules and regulations and laws. And that we do not mind to be lone rangers for goodness. Anywhere we are. We don't mind to be lone rangers for what is right. When people used to say Muslims are fanatics, I always challenge people. I say, do you understand? You go and take your dictionary. Being fanatical means being tenacious about a particular thing. I said, you are fanatical about women. I'm not quarreling about it. You are fanatical about money. Am I quarreling about it? So if I'm fanatical about Islam, what's your stress? So let's be fanatical about insisting that we are not going to agree or tolerate any act of corruption in our private lives. Let's encourage our children to know the value of hard work. Let's teach our children that cutting of corners always end up in disasters. Let spouses encourage themselves to be upright. If your husband suddenly comes back and he says, look, this, I just bought a car, and there was no prior discussion, ask questions. It's your husband. Ask questions. It's very important. Because we get our pitoma, then you go to move the pitoma in school. And you don't do it. I assure you that if 50% of Muslims in Nigeria decide to shun corruption, inshallah, in the next 2 years, Nigeria will be a better place for all of us. In the days of juju musicians, have you ever sat down to even ask, why is it that 99% of the man called Oloriman Muslim? And what would you do? And we all know that these praise singers don't do so except to pay. Why is it that 90% at least of those for whom records were waxed were Muslims? That's the kind of money that will have been used to assist the Ummah. I gave a lecture about 12 years ago at Anzaruddin, the spectacle of abandoned mosque projects in Nigeria. And the conclusion I came to after doing a few research is that the greatest number of uncompleted religious places of worship belong to the Muslims. Ọlọ́run sì kẹwàá. Ọlọ́run kẹwàá gan-an. But Muslims, they would rather spend their money on some terrible things than invest with Allah. I call the other. That's like a free one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Takbir. Takbir. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of Islam. And I do hope that within the last 6 or so months, we've been following the trends. We started by asking us to vote. After our voting, we started asking people to now ask questions. These were people that we have entrusted into, what do they call it? They will be asked by God, and God is also going to ask us. But I want to just cite 2 examples. I remember talking to one of our brothers, one of the former ministers, federal ministers now. I went to him and I said, we know you today. I mean, we know you yesterday. We think that we know you today. We pray that we will know you tomorrow. And having given him this, I did it as seal. That yes, we can vouchsafe for you yesterday. Now that you are in the office, we don't know whether you are still the same. And tomorrow we pray that by the time you are leaving office, we will be able to beat our chest once again. That because the kind of stories coming from the dailies about the ministers, in fact, I mean, it's disturbing. The brother said, look, thank you for coming. Do you know that members of my immediate family, they are asking me, one of them came, he said, Minister, give me $20,000 now. I said, where will I get it? So while he was thinking about that, an Islamic organization forwarded a letter that he should donate $5 million. So if you look at it, like as rightly said, we more often than not make our leaders to be corrupt. And a lot of us will say, look, it is your time. So, and we start to tell stories. But the effect of corruption, we are today feeling it. He mentioned something also about the traffic. I remember that in Saudi Arabia, if for any reason you block, you take a wrong route, the first thing they will ask you to do is In addition to that, they will test you for psychological, what do they call it? And a psychiatric. In addition, you will then be made to pay 100 reals. In fact, it's considered a very serious offense for an ambulance to be clearing and then you block the road. They will arrest you immediately, and also the same process will be carried out. But if that were to happen in Nigeria, what will happen? And then the issue of the declaration of assets. When Murtala Mohammed became the head of state, you know, he had to return a number of assets, and that is to tell us what Brother Olaolu has actually advocated is possible. But are we ready? If we are not ready, however, Nigeria is classified about the 14th failed state without any war. Almost all other states, the remaining 13, they are facing one or the other war, with the exception of Nigeria. Our own war is with corruption. We pray it will not consume us. Thank you.
The various comments were all well taken. I made the point, maybe some of the commentators came late, or they were inattentive, or both. All the things we have said, I've said in the lecture. I did not say it in your own language, but I've said so. That is personal. And I gave examples of what should happen in your homes and so on and so forth. So there is no basis of disagreement at all. We are working on the same. We are not even working parallel. We are working on the same lane. So let personal life, because it is the society is the aggregate of the families. So once your home is okay, your neighborhood will be okay, your street will be okay. Your local government, your town, so it's like that. All the 15 points made here or more is for each one of us. It's for each one of us to decide to make use of them. Nobody can force anybody. Wama alaina idal balagul ubi. We'll say it. Those who want to listen will listen. Those who don't. Nobody is a policeman for anybody. But if it's only one you want to use out of it. And my sister, the last speaker, said something very valid. I'm surprised I didn't mention it. I agree with her absolutely. If you are a commissioner in the state, for example, once it is not official that your wife must have a car, why must you take one of the cars in the ministry and give to your wife? We even go to the because some people give to their concubines anyway. See, the problem with public officials is that when they come into these offices, they try to live up to certain things, which is not necessary. If before you were appointed a commissioner, you normally wear your jeans and shirt, what stops you? And that is why it's so ridiculous in this country. When the disaster either governor or president, are we serious? But also those who know me know that sometimes you invite me to a wedding, I just go in t-shirts and chinos. Even sometimes I make chairman of the session, and people ask me, how can you come here like this? I said, so I mean the problem. Then number two, why do we overdress? We dress more than the celebrants. Nígbà tí wọ́n tán pè sóde ọ̀sẹ̀ chairman reception, agbádá àtẹ̀gẹ́ tuntun bàbá ìyàwó, wọ́n mọ̀ sí ọmú. Pété bàbá ìyàwó mi dá bàbá pé tó bá ti wọ́n ọ̀sẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ìyẹn kò dé. So it's part of it. So let's look. If before you assume office, it's only you don't change. So yeah, your level should remain. What does it matter? Remember this saying: the hood does not make the monk. What you are is not changed by what you put on. So it's very important. Somebody made another valid point, and I made the point before that, and I gave the example of our brother who is now the provost. That don't go and tell him that it's only one man. Brother, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reported to have said that help your brother, whether it's the oppressed or the oppressor. If our brother is being oppressed, we know how to assist him. We can drive away the oppressor. Say yes. But if he is the oppressor, how do we assist him? He said, take away the weapon of oppression from his hands. If we all know this and we practice it, I think it's very important. Even if our brother is the oppressor, if you can't do any other thing, Prophet said told you, if things are wrong, at least you have 3 ways of correcting it. The use of your hand, your mouth, your heart. That of your heart is the weakest. Some of us, we can't do anything, we just talk. At least we are fulfilling one of the things now. If we saw it, because the journalist asked me when I stepped outside there, said we've been saying this every day. I said, repeating a problem is 50% of the solution. If in your place of work you are a lone ranger before, if you start talking, and you have 1 or 2 other disciples, you are making progress. So, if the Muslims don't, if all of us that are here, I am assuming that 99% of us are from Lagos, where we live here. If all of us that are here today, we decide to be repeating all these things we have today, and we practice it, you'll be surprised at the level of changes that we can bring. As big, as large, as complicated, as sophisticated, and cool as Lagos is. So, the ball is in our court. Section 39(1) of Bofia. The sister has answered. You see, and the journalist also asked me, these hues and cries about Islamic banking. It's born out of so many, I'll tell you what. 1, religious demagoguery, mischief, ignorance, and then hatred. You know when it was not fashionable in this country at all, in England, for more than 25 years or more, Muslim nurses have been allowed to dress Islamically. For the few states that are implemented in this country, it was royal battle. I always tell people, except people who are mental, who quarrel over choices. That's my answer to people who criticize some of these things. If you are mental, it's only then you quarrel about choices. One day you make if you have choices, why should that become a problem of quarrel? In fact, you should promote amity. In the UK, they have Islamic banking. Since Nigeria joined OIC in 1986, is Nigeria an Islamic country? I always tell people I don't like religious tolerance. It's negative. It's religious accommodation. Because when you tolerate things you don't like, that's why you never tell your wife that I'm tolerating. If the day you tell your wife you are tolerating her, it means it's very here. So it's accommodation. I think we must learn to have religious accommodation in this country. Why is it that anything that they mention the name of Islam, so people believe that they will start to have mental problems and high blood pressure? It's because I've said it. Most people who say they are religious leaders who are kicking against this thing are actually traders. They are purveyors of empty ideas. So I believe that, you see, if the Muslims must react, we must not make it to look as if we against them. No, it's beyond it. Islamic banking is universal. It's not about Islam. It's beyond the Muslims. So let's go to the marketplace of ideas and meet them all the way through. Don't let us, we should not engage in any shouting match with people. People will tell you, those who shout are people who are empty. And we are people who are, you can't even tell us that we must argue with them with wisdom. Ikma. So let's engage our ikma and debate with them. Let them see why, when there are choices, that should not become big problems. If something is happening and you can't correct it, you are helpless. Islam has provided for such situations in life. That's why the Quran even went to the extreme that at the point of death you have no other thing to eat. Swine, pork, which is expressly forbidden, becomes halal. If you are in a society, because we are not in Darul Islam in this country, you are in this country, you can't run to another place. Geography has put us in this cuckoo. But you must show your personal distaste. The fact that things are going that way and you can't assist it does not mean you should join. If the only thing you want to show is to show that you don't like what is going on, abstain from the madness. Yes. Thank you very much for this question. The fellow now said, I said you should be ceasing allowance, and why did I collect the money? They now told me that that's the practice in the state, that anybody that's appointed to board, they are paid salaries. If that is the law, I'm also a law-abiding person. So your principle cannot, once it is not ex facie illegal. What I was running away from was to commit any illegality. Then when they told me that is the law here, that's the what happens to board appointments and so on, they are giving salary, not sitting allowance. Since I'm not the governor, I can't change the law. So as a law-abiding citizen, I kept my peace and collected only my just due. And when the new governor came down and they announced that they have dissolved us, I called the director. I said, Alhamdulillah. He said, no, they are already talking. I said, I don't want to come back. There are other competent people too who can do this job. Let others also have a taste of it. It's very important. Because that is what promotes C-type syndrome in many leaders. The concept of indispensability. That without me, who are you? Kan tó dá ọ, kan tó bí ìyá rẹ, àwọn èèyàn sáyé wọn lọ. Nígbà tó bá kúrò, adáyé wọn sáyé. How they do it is their problem. This morning somebody was telling me about this here, about the University of Ilorin. Tí professor ìbá kúrò, báwo ni wọ́n á ṣẹlẹ̀ nígbà, ó jẹ́ bí property lé wọn. Why are you talking like that? Wọ́n ti ń ṣe kí òun tó débẹ̀, wọ́n ṣe tó bá kúrò mbẹ̀. As a Muslim, you are just laying your own standards as you understand it. And I tell people, two things happen to an office when an individual assumes it, either as governor or whatever. If you are a man of high stakes, high standard, you lift the office to your standard. If you belong to the gutter, you bring it down into where you are. So if you take it to a higher standard, people also know. And if somebody else comes and he takes it back to gutter, people also know one about Tiluto. Orúkọ òde parẹ́, ilé tó sì jẹ náà Tiluto dúró. Orúkọ òde parẹ́ náà. Wassalamu alaikum.
Takbir once again. We've already thanked the guest lecturer. The guest lecturer said he's not a member of the companion, but a foundation member of the Islamic Welfare Foundation. I'm happy he's also said the companion is waxing stronger. On this note, we invite the National Amir of the companion to present to him a souvenir. Before it went dry, it got out of my mouth. Because I'm going to say that if you are not going to give him honorarium for coming and giving us his time, we will give him something that he will have in memory that he was here. So the National Amir should present this to him.
Thank Allah for the life of our brother. I'm sure all of us have enjoyed it today, as usual, right? Alhamdulillah. So on behalf of the companion, Lagos District, I have the privilege to hand over this topic to you in appreciation of the company. So I want you to be very attentive. We have companion in Ilorin. That's it. And it doesn't disturb your IWF. No, disturb it. I'm asking that. So, we welcome you to the company.
Takbir!
that when in 1987 I was privileged for Allah to elevate me to this position. Companion was one of the first organizations that hosted me to a very grand, elaborate, very, very sumptuous luncheon. And I think you can repeat it. So I want to, on behalf of the members of my family, one of them is here, and myself, I want to thank most sincerely the companion. The Amir of Lagos branch did not capture the totality of what I said at the beginning. And I won't blame you. On echo, I said, Allah made it possible that I was part of those who conceived the idea of the companion. I said that it was deliberately that we actually divided ourselves. Perhaps Adam, and if I was a companion, later like if I go another, and if I want to share with you, so that like just like lions and no tree. So that was what happened. So, but alhamdulillah today that one can stand here and say with all sense of humility that all on something in the lawyer. I have to say that in English is a problem. Yeah, lawyer. So I don't know. Ọlọ́run kó wọlá àná kó wọlá èmi kó wọlá ọ̀la káàrí àdìgbòrò sí wa kó wọlá àwọn tó dé láti bí gbogbo wa máa ń fẹ́ lọ láti lọ bẹ̀ náà gbogbo mo fẹ́ wa Ọlọ́run bá wa fẹ́ gbogbo mo kọ́ wa kọ́lọ́run bá wa kọ́ wọ́n lẹ́nu kò lè kọ́ ara bí alára gbogbo tó bá kọjú sẹ́nìkan ẹ̀yìn kọ́ sẹ́nu mi. Àwọn àfa onímọ̀ wọ́n ti sọ fún wa pé káwọn máa rí yẹn káwọn àgbà nípa Ọlọ́run kẹ́káyé lórí ibi tí lágbájá ń dé wọ́n ráńgbà míì tó ayé rẹ̀ bá fẹ́ rí bíi tiẹ̀ ó lè yẹ lómi wéèrè. Wọ́n lè ní máa ń sọ fún gbogbo mo fẹ́ wá o kọ́lọ̀ bá wa fẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́lọ̀ bá wa pọ̀ bá a ṣe fẹ́ kọ́lọ̀ wọ́n orí kọ́lọ̀ sì gbàdúrà wa. Lọ́tọ̀ ọ̀nà méjì lọ́wọ́ máa ń gbà ṣáà gbàdúrà ó lè gbà lọ́nà tiẹ̀ àbí ó gbà lọ́nà tiẹ̀ tó bá gbà lọ́nà tiẹ̀ àdúrà gbà tó bá gbà lọ́nà tẹ̀ kára rẹ̀ bí mo fún wa ṣe wá ń kàyé fi gbà míì. Àwọn ìwà sọ pé wọ́n fòlù àmọ́ àfúnṣe lọ́wọ́ máa ń fàdúrà lórí ìpamọ́ sí pé kò tí tásìkò ọlọ́gbogbo táwọn ń fẹ́ yóò tásìkò ńgbà tá a fẹ́ wọ́n á fi ṣe ní wọ́n sì ní ìbàdí tó fún wọn jọ́pẹ̀lẹ̀ àti àmà gbogbo wa tá a jáde àwọn bí Ọlọ́run yá jèrè àwọn ọmọ wa o àwọn ọmọ náà kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ jèrè ara wọn o kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ àwọn ọmọ owó jèrè ara wọn o má jẹ́ kí gbọ́mọ wa lọ nígbà náà wọ́n lè ti gbọ́mọ yẹn o ayé ní gbọ́mọ èèyàn wọ́n má jẹ́ ká yóò gbọ́mọ wa àwa náà tá a sì lóbi wọ́n jẹ́ ká yóò gbé wa máa ń wò wa lọ́wọ́ ọ̀làdá ìdá ìdàdà ọ̀là àràdà Ọlọ́run ọ̀là àtúntò Ọlọ́run ọ̀là gbogbo àyè tó mọ́ táwọn èèyàn tó túbọ̀ káàkiri ilé ayé táwa gbọ́n mọ́ Ọlọ́run fún sáwà gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan wa àdó àtàṣe fún wa gbà o ilé táwọn yẹn ṣe fún wa tá a mọ̀ wá gbà ilé táwọn yẹn ṣe lẹ́yìn wa tá a mọ̀ mọ́sà wá gbà mọ́tòrí àìṣedédé wa kò nínú àdúrà wa subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursalin walhamdulillahi.